When we see you before us in a realized state, we comprehend your choices, and we comprehend your choices. We understand other things well. We understand other things as well. There's an aspect of each of you. There is an aspect of each of you that indeed knows what she truly requires, what she truly requires, what he truly needs, what he truly needs in this aspect of you. And this aspect of you we anticipate will call you forth, in high regard, in the coming years, The choices are before you now. The choices that are before you now in industry, in commerce, and how you live with your lives, and how you live with your lives amongst others, are coming to you in quick ways, in rapidity, and the choices before you, must be met by you, in an awareness of yourself, in an awareness of the true self, or the aspect of self that knows, or the aspect of self that knows. Now you need not go running around saying, true self, answer me, true self, answer me. The aspect of self that has always been your high counsel, can be called the true self, can be called the true self, or the monad, It governs aspects of you, and it governs aspects of you in totality, beyond your idea of self, in which case you might understand, you can never be truly alone, Paul interrupts the teaching. Is the same as high self? Is this the same as high self, or true self, or soul, When you look at each of those ideas, they are speaking to a higher aspect. The Christ itself, or the monad. The Christ itself, or the monad, actually operates beyond self, but may incorporate self, The idea of high self, or the aspect of self, that governs you from lifetime to lifetime, to lifetime, may be understood as an aspect of soul, may be understood as an aspect of soul. All of these things exist in God. And consequently the true self, the monad, and consequently the true self, or the monad, can be claimed in all things, because God is the high self, and God is the soul, or an aspect of it at least, that is seeking to converse, and to be, and to align, at every level that it encounters. Now the monad of the divine self as you always has its mission, to reunite with the whole, or the God within you, seeks to claim itself, in union with the divine in all things, itself, its being, its presence is what is acclimated to, through these instructions. You're actually carried by the energy of it, from experience to experience, lest the soul understand that she could be alone, You're always reminded that you are of the whole, because the monad of the divine self, or the divine self has never forgotten this, Now many of you believe that you're on a mission to God, or in service of God, if you allow yourself to simply be. If you would allow yourself to simply be, and put down the flag, put down the banner, and simply be, you could actually listen to yourself. You could actually listen to the true self. You look for glory in your actions. But even very small actions. How you pour the tea, how you smile at the neighbor, how you turn the page of the book, how you turn the page of the book, or expressions of God, and to know God is all things, This is to know God as your breath, is to know God as your breath, and your sight, and what you see, and who is seen, and how you identify them, and how you identify them. The claims we make for you tonight, are in divine union, and of the whole, so that the aspects of each of you, that are requiring to shift, inviting to shift, can indeed do so, with less stress, than you might otherwise experience. What does that mean, he asks? Well, the idea of stress, or tension can be understood as what occurs when you move out of a comfortable place, when you move out of a comfortable place, or something quite unknown, and into something quite unknown when we do this with you collectively. When we do this with you collectively, there is indeed less stress. There is indeed less stress because we create an amplitude, because we create an amplitude that allows each of you to flourish, that allows each of you to flourish. Imagine a terrarium or a hothouse where things will bloom readily, where things can bloom readily. The energy we work with, and amplification supports your usherance forward into the true self, into the divine self, as can be manifest as and through you, as can be manifest as and through you. Now the you that is manifest at this level, now the you that is manifest at this level continues to be you, but in an altered paradigm. The name you carried since birth, may still be what you are called, may still be what you are called, but you know yourself beyond that name. It is the idea of Paul that is encountering you. It is the idea of Paul that is encountering you, the idea of Alice, or the idea of Alice, or the idea of Joan, or the idea of Joan, but the true Joan, the true Paul, but the true Joan, the true Paul, the true any of you. The true any of you is actually resplendent, and knows itself by many names, and knows itself by many names, and indeed no name at all, because God finally we have to say is without a name, is without a name. Any name you've given God, any name you have given God has been an attempt to control it, or to explain it, or to explain it, or understand it, or to understand it through like ideas. God is like the weather, God is like the weather, God is like the sun, God is like the sun, God is like the universe, God is like the universe in its vastness, while all these things may be true, and while all these things may be true, God with beyond any name, God beyond any name, simply is, it is your breath, it is your skin, it is what you see, and indeed how you are seen, and indeed how you are seen, because even how you are witnessed by others, at any level of tone must be seen as a God, must be seen as an expression of God. Now the confusion Paul has about God these days is really very simple, Where am I in this paradigm now? If I am not praying fervently, if I am not on a path, if I am simply showing up for this work, if I am simply showing up for this work, what you must understand, Paul, is that God is never not present, You may be facing God, but you may be facing God, perceiving God, or looking away, Even when you look away, God is still present, When you ask to see God's face, you imply that you turn your face to God, you imply that you turn your face to God. If you wish to ask that now, I wish to see God's face, you will be turning your face, to the eternal, to all that is, by any name or no name, the idea that God should be a discipline, or practice, can and has been used for many of you, has been helpful to many of you. A practice is useful. Up to a certain point in time, when the commandeering of time through practice takes the place of other things, you must release the practice. Imagine that there is a flood, but it is your time to meditate, It is actually your time to step outside, and move away from the flood waters, and move away from the flood waters. It may be your time to warn your neighbors, It may be your time to build yourself a little ark, You may be carried away, so that you may be carried away to higher ground. But prayer is always present, because all prayer really is, is communion with source, through language if you wish, or simply through lifting your face, or simply through lifting your face to the awareness of the present that must be present, no matter what you think. Now the small self thinks Now, the small self thinks, it does its best with thinking, it does its best with thinking, and indeed the true self knows, and indeed the true self knows, and the aspect of you that knows, and the aspect of you that knows has indeed always known, has indeed always known. Now, some of you use this in confusing ways. Now, some of you use this in confusing ways. I knew my neighbor told me. I knew my neighbor should have listened to me. I knew that man should have married. I knew that man should have married me. I knew those people should have voted this way. I knew those people should have voted this way, or not that way, and not that way. And your understanding of who you are, and your understanding of who you are as arbiters of other behavior, as arbiters of others' behavior must be seen as a fallacy, must be seen as a fallacy. What others do is really not your business. What others really do is not your business. Your business is very simple. Your business is very simple. How you see the world, what you claim the world as, what you claim the world as, how you decide you are, in congruence with others, and with the world itself, and with the world itself. And by world we mean reality, and by world we mean reality. The aspect of you that is determined to be right, that is determined to be right, will be determined to be right, will be determined to be right until he is gone, and awakens something other, and awakens to something other. The aspect says, I don't know. The aspect of you that says, I don't know, is at least willing to learn, is at least willing to learn, or to have the truth be revealed to her, or to have the truth be revealed to her. The one who says, I never know, the one who says, I never know, abnegates the aspect of her, that indeed does know, and seeking to be your counsel, and is seeking to be your counsel. Dear God, by any name I give you, by any name I give you, let me know you as my counsel, let me know you as my counsel. Dear God, by any name you choose, let me know who you are, let me know who you are in the fullness of your being, And dear God, by any name you go by any name you go by, show us all the way, so we may be lifted to the highest choices, available to us all at this time, at this moment, in this idea of history, that we are partaking in. Some of you say to us, as long as it's what I want, with the certitude that what you want is God's will, the confusion about what is God's will, has gone on for so long, The winning side said, we got our way, that must have been God's will, the terrible thing happens, that must have been God's will, then you put it aside that way, The will is an aspect of God, yes. The will is an aspect of God, yes, but is the aspect of God, that has been given to you, to authorize. Your will is sacred. And the offering of the small self's will, to entwine with the higher, to conjoin with the higher, is an active will itself, is an act of will itself. I will to will thy will is a prayer, yes, and a prayer of truth, but then you must be open, to the will being something other than you would have perceived it to be, because the small self perceives, as best he can, through the small window, that he witnesses his world through, when you open to the higher. When you open to the higher, I am in the upper room, I have come, the edicts of the past are released, the choices made in fear are released, the decorum that you have utilized as a rule book, is also released, and you are left in some ways naked, resplendent, unexposed, and exposed to the authority that you are embracing, in union with the divine. What does that mean, he asks? Well, the things that prevent you from union, how you think you should be, or how God can be, or what it must be, for you to enjoin with it, must be put aside, as articles of clothing, that serve serve as barrier, that serve as barrier. If you allow the whole being that you are, if you allow the whole being that you are, and by being we don't mean the body, and by being we don't mean the body, we mean every aspect of you, we mean every aspect of you that is being inclusive of form and field and imagination and even doubt, if all of these things can be expressed, if all of these things can be expressed and allowed to conjoin with God, and then allowed to conjoin with God, God becomes the doubt, God becomes the doubt, God becomes the body, God becomes the body, because God always was these things, because God always was these things, because these things can exist outside it, because these things cannot exist outside of it. Some of you say to us, tell me thy will explicitly, tell me thy will explicitly, and then I will do it without thought, and then I will do it without thought. It's only when your own will, it is only when your own will is aligned to the higher, when you are operating in union, that something as this can occur, but you're not so much doing God's bidding, but you are not so much doing God's bidding as aligning God's will, as aligning to God's will, so it's indeed become your own, so that it has indeed become your own. You are not operating in separation at this point. You are not operating in separation at this point. You are operating as ambassador. You are operating as ambassador, or expression of the source of all things come as you, and the will that you hold. And the will that you hold has been aligned to be in service at a higher level. But by that we don't mean wave a banner. Stand in a street corner and shout your truth. It means to be as you are as the level. It means to be as you are at this level, that you can only be in truth, that you can only be in truth. Now, the true self knows. And the true self expresses in knowing, and the true self expresses in knowing. It is not figuring it out. It is not figuring it out. It's not looking at the map, choosing this or that. It is not looking at the map, choosing this or that. You may have those experiences still. How do we drive to the market? Let us find the map and see. Instead, what we are saying is you become in some ways a barometer of vibration. You will become in some ways a barometer of vibration that is aligned to truth, that is aligned to truth, as a compass may be aligned to north, may be aligned to north. You're always claiming truth. And consequently your choices are made. And consequently your choices are made in a verification of this, And by verification we mean agreement to the truth, in a way that you may know, in a way that you may know. Now, when we teach through Paul, we understand his questions, we understand his doubts, his concerns about the teachings themselves and the teaching today. And so the teaching today is for him as well as you, Would you stop trying so hard? And allow God to be God, and allow God to be God? Would you not something God? Would you stop saying to God, why don't I have what I want? Why don't I have what I want? And where is it now? And instead say, show me the way. And instead say, show me the way, and show me the highway, and show me the highway to the realization I seek, If there is a simple requirement that you must have, you must trust that it will be met. You must trust that it will be met. But many of you decide what it should look like. I need more gasoline for the car. But it doesn't occur to you. When it doesn't occur to you, there may be another way to work, that there may be another way to work to get to the destination, beside the jalopy in the garage, that you prize so much, each of us before you today. And indeed there are many here, who are about to support you each, in agreement to merge, at a level of tone, that for some of you will be very new, but for some of you will be very new. When this merging occurs, it must occur through agreement by you, We will not override your will. But the yes that you invoke, indeed will be heard, and will be met by us each, as we hold you in our light, Now, by holding you in our light does not mean that we are God, any more than you are, but we have refined our vibrational vibrational field, but we have refined our vibrational field. We do not hold the karma you do. We do not hold the karma you do, nor do we hold the demands you would have, nor do we hold the demands you would have on how things should be or seem, on how things should be or seem. So when we hold you we hold you in tone and vibration. We hold you in tone and vibration. We hold you in love, and indeed we hold you in love, which is a simple awareness, to who and what you can only be in truth. And as we do this, we will merge the energetic field. We will merge the energetic field that we are carrying today, to support the entirety of this class, to a level of tone, where the merging we are offering can be received by you, Imagine you're being lifted. Imagine you are being lifted in loving arms, to a level of vibration, where you can say yes, I am willing to be known, I am willing to be known. Yes, I'm going to be loved, I am willing to be loved. Yes, I am willing to know myself as worthy of what is before me, The merging that will occur. The merging that will occur will happen in the physical self, and the energetic body simultaneously, once the yes is received. Once the yes is received, it will be immediate. Many of you will feel this yes as an amplification of vibration, or as a sound that can be felt, It really matters not how you receive it. It really matters not how you receive it, but the action that it will take, the action that it will take on your experience here, will be in sequence. Now imagine you just moved country. Now imagine you just have moved to a new country where the language is other, You don't know how to buy the milk in the store. You don't know how to buy the milk in the store using the old ways of speaking. There will be a dissimilarity in some ways. There will be a dissimilarity in some ways when your expectations are not being met in the old ways, when your expectations are not being met in the old ways, and a summoning of the new and a summoning of the new. The knowing we speak of, to the new, to meet the needs that are required, So every time you look to the old rule book, you may feel stymied. Because what is being brought to you you may not have a frame of reference for, through the old vocabulary, or the old expectations, Now, when we sing through Paul tonight, we're going to be singing several tones. There will be a lifting that occurs. There will be a lifting that occurs as each tone is invoked. You may join each tone as you wish. We will begin with the attunements that will support this action in all ways. You may say this after we speak if you wish. You may say this after we speak if you wish. I am word through my body. Word, I am word. I am word through my vibration. Word, I am word. I am word through my knowing of myself as word. Word, I am word. I am word through the choice I am making now to align to my highest expression as source, as of source, as a being in source. I know who I am in truth. I know what I am in truth. I know how I serve in truth. I am free, I am free, I am free. I am in the upper room. I have come, I have come, I have come. Behold, I make all things new. It will be so. God is, God is. God is. On the count of 3, Paul. 1, now 2, now 3. Now again. Allow us to be received by you. Allow yourselves to be received by us. Allow us to shift you. Allow us to shift you to the next level, to the next level of realization that you are saying yes to, that you are saying yes to. And if you choose it now, you may say yes. You may say yes. I have come. 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 Be received by the source of all things. Be received by the source of all things. Each aspect of self that has ever been known, as form, as vibration, as thought, or as expression, allow every manifestation that you have ever known yourself as, to be recruited and reunited with your very source, on the count of 3, Paul. On the count of 3, Paul. 1, now 2, now 3. Be received, and 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 allow yourself to be moved, and allow yourself to be moved into the totality of the one-note song, God as you, God as all things. It is, it is, it is, it simply is. It simply is. Let yourselves be held and received and reknown at this level or octave of vibration. You are in the upper room. You have come, you have come, you have come. Behold, I make all things new. It will be so. God is, God is, God is. It simply is. Period, period, period. Stop now, please. Stop now, please.